stepping down. He's the current. We've been
He's
talking
so
about
mad.
this for weeks. He's the
Oh,
current
he's
president.
so mad.
Scott, I mean, this is just as much uncertainty for Republicans as it is for Democrats. You heard what former President Trump said to me moments after Biden announced this. We're already seeing a well-funded super PAC of his attacking Harris, something they had kind of been preparing in case this very scenario happened. What does this moment mean for Republicans?
Yeah, it's shocking. I mean, if I had known the second coming of the Lord Almighty was going to happen on the East Coast this weekend, I wouldn't have gone to San Diego. I'd have been there with you. But here we are, 3 weeks after the cheap fakes, by the way, episode, which the most embarrassing gaslighting that ever happened. I mean, Republicans are going to paint Kamala Harris as
mad.
Joe Biden.
She's mad.
Been number 2 in the administration that has a mid-30s approval rating that's overseeing this inflation crisis. She was the border czar.
He's so
for the
mad
immigration
today.
crisis that everybody is mad about.
You,
and
Scott.
on top of that, she's been one of the principal ringleaders of the cover-up of Joe Biden's actual condition. So I hear I've been listening for the last couple of hours, a lot of crowing and pumping up.
Scott is the Republican on the CNN lineup.
Not a great politician.
For those of you who
She ran
don't
for
know.
president once, and it was a
He's
complete
mad.
disaster. And right now, it looks like she, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, and a bunch of rich people have just pushed Joe Biden out of this race, and in the process, disenfranchised millions of Democrat voters.
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah, dude. Everyone who voted for Joe Biden in the primaries is like, yeah, I'm not voting for Kamala Harris. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Is it interesting to you that we haven't seen a picture of Joe Biden today? We don't have a picture of him signing the letter. I mean, this is a huge decision. Also, the letter doesn't say why exactly. Why is he stepping down? He's the current. We've been
He's
talking
so
about
mad.
this for weeks. He's the current
He's
president.
so mad, dude.
He's
Come
now
on.
apparently
Look, I don't know
unable
what happens tomorrow, but today I'm going to sit, I'm going to kick back, and I'm going to enjoy the Republicans in a state of absolute panic.
Unanswered by this letter and the mystery surrounding him today.
Yeah, well, he does have COVID, so I think that's probably why we're not seeing him. You know, I just talked to Chris Coons, his co-chair, who spoke to him after this announcement.
We didn't even see Joe Biden. And also, what if maybe it wasn't him who signed
calls
it?
From people like House Speaker Mike Johnson. But I do wonder, Scott, what does this mean if Harris is the nominee? I mean, let's game this out for a second. What does that mean for the Trump campaign? Because they have been preparing to run against President Biden.
Why would he panic? Isn't this the best news for them?
After that debate in Atlanta?
No.
But this is, you know,
Guys,
even.
Biden is so fucking old. Please. He was literally, what chances he has of winning right now are already marginal. They were going to only get worse from this point on. How do you not see this? Like, no, this was not good. This was a depressive voter turnout re-election, okay? This was a rerun. The momentum was only in the Trump direction. I'm telling you, dude, that's the reason why Republicans are so fucking mad right now and trying everything that they can to just be like, yo, dude, it's so fucked up. It's so fucked up how they did my boy Joe Biden. Like, oh my God, all the primary voters voted for him. It's like, no, they voted for the Democrat. They voted for whoever the fuck is at the top of the ticket. You have an unprecedented level of interest in a race that was unimaginably boring and uninteresting for many people who were not interested in voting at all. This is the opportunity for the Democratic Party to put forward some kind of competent leadership and actually use this blank slate in some respects to their advantage. Now, it's actually no longer a fucking old person against an older person. These are the types of things that Americans in the margins care about. Many of you are talking about like how she's a black woman, she's an Indian woman. These are the types of things that American voters care about. Yeah, sure. But you know what else they care about? Old people who are chaotic. Old people who they don't really like that much. Old people who have also taken away 50% of the country's fucking reproductive rights, reproductive freedoms. Watch the Dem Party shit the bed and put a fucking conservative in the front seat. Yeah, I don't think that that's a good idea. I hope they don't do that. That's why the people that I've been mentioning are not actually conservative. Shapiro would be more conservative, in my opinion, than even like a Bashar or even Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly's pretty middle of the road as well. I don't really trust the Democrats, as I've said time and time again. They do have the worst fucking instincts, but this is a moment where they actually moved in a direction, albeit a difficult one, but they moved in the correct direction. So if they keep up this momentum and they put forward a decent plan of attack and don't lean to like the more conservative losing battles like the border and instead lean into winning battles like abortion, like the economy rebounding, things of that nature, then it's a pretty solid opportunity to maintain all of those voters who were saying that they were going to vote for Joe Biden and pick up more in demographics that you need to pick up to win key states. GOP strategist Terry Sullivan tells CBS News that his fellow GOP operatives are less than enthusiastic. They're the dog that caught the car, says Scott McFarlane. Kyle Griffin, Trump desperately wanted President Biden to stay in the race, according to multiple reports. This is true. They really wanted Biden. And the reason why they really wanted Biden is because they thought Biden is the candidate to beat. And there was a likelihood that Biden was the candidate to beat. But like I said, Democrats can still fuck up the bag here, but they have a wonderful opportunity. This is also a pretty solid narrative here as well. Harris is such a good candidate because she can credibly claim the accomplishments of the administration without being held responsible for any of Biden's specific mistakes. She literally exists in the context of what came before, but is also unburdened by what has been. That is true. She can literally dismantle the genocide Joe narrative. Not to say that she will, because that requires bravery. I don't know if she's going to be courageous enough. But she separated herself a couple months prior from Biden on this issue. This also creates an opportunity to genuinely galvanize the youth vote, to genuinely get the youth vote back into action. Get ready for a lot of people basically saying that, like, she's a woman, Americans are too misogynistic, which while they simultaneously are just being that person. I think Kamala Harris is not a great candidate, but she is the one that the Democratic Party put forward. I'm just analyzing this with what I've seen so far. In a world where Joe Biden is trailing behind Donald Trump closely, despite the fact that he's a cadaver, I see a world where there's only more votes to gain in this process. The donations pouring in are coming from big ticket donors, by the way, but that is only good because it's going to lead to a lot of money being dumped in to reframing the narrative and getting people to pay attention and getting people interested in the form of ad spends. Obviously, hundreds of millions of dollars thus far was not getting that done for Joe. So there is a little bit of uncertainty there. We don't know if the hundreds of millions of dollars behind Kamala Harris is actually going to get people to be interested in Kamala Harris, is going to get people to want to vote for Kamala Harris. I suspect that it will do far better for Kamala Harris than Joe Biden. I think regular voters will get excited too. Biden just inspired no enthusiasm. Yes. How charismatic is she? Not great. She is not great, I will say. But while she's not great, this man was a cadaver, and the voters were still like, yeah, I think whoever is on the top of that ticket, I'm voting for. 67% of Democratic Party voters that said that they were voting for Biden were voting against Trump. Their main motivation was voting against Trump. You need to understand that. That is important. This is still a Trump race. That's not a good race that the Republicans want to have. Trump is a very unpopular person. You need to understand. This motherfucker almost got killed. And people were like celebrating. And by people, I mean not myself. I would never do such a thing. But others were. I was celebrating for other reasons. You know, maybe I was celebrating because he survived. I was excited. But like everyone was celebrating. Half of the country was celebrating. Well, not half, but you know, around 30% of the country was excited that he survived and he's like the Messiah, the second coming of Jesus Christ. The rest of the country was like, yeah, no, this is kind of sad.